Should we?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the NPTEL MOOCs uh, live session for this course, Ecology and Society. I welcome you all for registering this particular course, and uh, I'll try to briefly discuss what we have discussed in the covered in the last 4 weeks, and I'll come to a few of the questions which you all have raised, and please also drop in the questions online. So what we have tried to do in this particular course is to familiarize ourselves with the ecology of human societies and human environment relationship within the frame of cultural ecology, and which also has to do with the issues confronting human society for the past generations. Now there are different ways of looking at ecology from the vantage point of different disciplines and sub-disciplines. So in this course, what I try to do is to familiarize you all with a few selected works on the ecological anthropologists, and therefore the course focuses on the relationship between human culture and their ecological environments. So this course first begin with the concepts of anthropology, which include the concept of culture as a dynamic system of learned behaviors and beliefs in order to equip us uh, and then better understand how human beings adapt to and change their physical and social surroundings. Now, in the first week, we also tries to looked upon how the different facets of uh, the human notions of understanding of society and ecology and their immediate environment. And we have also looked upon the uh, the different facets of environmentalism, and beginning from significantly from the 1960s, wherein we try to see that prior to 1960s, uh, environmentalism focuses more on uh, the preservations of wilderness and the conservations of resources, which was chiefly influenced by the American wilderness thinking. But in the 60s, because of the seminal work of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, happens to bring to our the notions of how environment has to be discussed and understand. So therefore, this book, Silent Spring, brought to the public attentions the various dangers of environment pollutions with regards to the public health, such as the use of chemicals, particularly DDT, and then perhaps this has evoked the first notions of this modern environmentalism, and then which of course has an impact and then led to the uh, passings of different policies, particularly National Environment and Policy Act of 1969. So some of the growing concerns beginning from the 1960s lead to some of the ecological injustice and also the growing unequal distributions of resources. And then we also have certain uh, emerging issues and concepts such as the environmental racisms, and therefore there has also been a long discussions on how the colonizations of indigenous peoples, lands, and resources were termed as a new form of colonialism. And then we move on to familiarize ourselves the notions of culture and cultural ecology, and how humans are, interacting with their environment. So we have also, looked upon the different adaptive strategies, such as the how culture played a role in the as a dynamic process in different environmental setting, and ways in which technology has changed, that is the tools, techniques, and knowledge system has changed over time, and which in some way has contributed to the whole idea of how cultural ecology has evolved over a period of time. And we have also looked into the way in which human relate with their immediate natural surroundings by taking into considerations about the carrying capacity, that how an upper limit of on productions and populations in a given environment. So we have also delved into looking at the different subsistence strategies, that is the modes of productions, given the first forms of society, like the foraging, uh, which particularly engage upon the hunter and the gatherer, and move on to looking at the horticultural, and then on to the pastoral and the agricultural, and eventually the industrial or the post-industrial society. So these evolutions of society have uh, largely looked into the way in which humans' relationship with nature and their immediate surroundings has changed with the evolutions of this society, say for example from a simple to a more complex society. And then we also move into looking at the notions of human ecology at different approaches altogether. Now, human ecology primarily deals with the relationship between humans and their environment, and one of the first notions of understanding or the approaches with regards to human ecology is that the human ecologists think that humans should actually be studied by engaging upon the living systems operating in a complex environment. And second, the human ecologist also thinks that humans are subject to very similar ecological and evolutionary process as any other species. So therefore, it is suffice to say that human activities to a large extent have a footprint in the environment, and in other words, we can say that it has damaged the environment, and that the damage may be dangerous and or permanent. So therefore, the human population growth has an impact on the environment. As the human population grows, we take up more space, consume more resources, and also produce more waste. So therefore, it has contributed immensely to the pollution of the environment, whether it's water pollutions, air pollutions, or maybe land pollutions. And therefore, all this has a bad influence to the human health in return. That is why increasingly there is a necessity to where the new branch of this ecological science begins to develop, that is human ecology. So therefore, given this background, human ecology is more about investigating or trying to make sense of how individuals and individual societies interrelate with nature and with their environment. So it also aspires to integrate knowledge from all academic disciplines and from a personal experience to investigate and also ultimately improve the relationship between human beings and our social and natural communities. So human ecology therefore views human society and human populations as part of the ecosystems of Earth, and therefore it is more detrimental to engage upon looking at the different species, that is the Homo sapiens. And we have also stumbled upon the different emerging concepts like environmental determinism and environmental possibilism. So what does environmental determinism here talks about? It is based on the assumption that cultural and natural areas are perceived to be coterminous, because culture represents an adaptation to that particular environment, which is postulated by none other than Stewart. So man is also equipped and capable to modify the force of environment through the use of or through exploiting technology. And over here, we could see the importance of human consciousness, which signifies man's active involvement in the management of the environment. So on the other hand, the proponents of the environmental possibilism asserted that while the environment did not directly cause specific cultural developments, the presence or absence of specific environmental problems place limits on such developments by either permitting or forbidding their occurrences. So we have also, moved on to look into the various strands of ecological anthropology, which focuses on the complex relations between people and their environment. And human populations therefore has an ongoing, a continuous contact with an impact upon the land, such as climate, plant and animal species in their immediate surroundings. And these elements of the environment also have reciprocal impacts on humans. So therefore, this ecological anthropology as a subdiscipline investigates the ways in which a population shapes its environment, and also the subsequent manners in which this relation, the population's social, economic, and political life. So we have also delved into, the works of, beginning from Charles Darwin's The Origins of Species, and move on to, look into the works of Malthus, particularly on his book, Essay on Populations, which perhaps has been greatly influenced by Darwin again. So Malthus goes on to be, pioneer in terms of the demographic studies by arguing that human populations naturally tend to outstrip their food supply. So therefore, there is an imbalances in terms of, the population which grows exponentially, and on the other hand, the resources which diminish as a consequence of this. And then therefore, we also move on to locating the works of Stewart, his theory which center around the culture core, and then which he also defines as, the constellations of features which are mostly related to subsistence activities and economic arrangements. Stewart was more interested in the expressions of this relationship in regards to the availability of different resources and management. So therefore, from their works, we could see the relevance of ecological anthropology, which perhaps tries to look into some of the contemporary concerns with the state of the general environment. Now, based on some of these, thinkers and the scholarly works, emerges a new idea of anthropological knowledge, which has the potential to inform and also instructs the humans about how to construct a sustainable ways of life. And therefore, this particular discipline, anthropology, especially when it has an environmental focus, also demonstrates the importance of preserving cultural diversity. So ecological anthropology inherently opposes the notions that ideas drive all human activities and existence. And thereby, we also move on to looking at some of the works of other ecological anthropologists like Roy A. Rappaport, where he has done an extensive case studies among New Guinea people. So Rappaport defined and was included in a paradigm called neo-functionalisms, and because he saw culture as a functions of the ecosystem, and also the carrying capacity and then energy expenditures are some of the central themes in Rappaport's studies. And Harold Conklin is also most noted with the discipline of ecological anthropology for showing that slash and burn cultivation has to be looked into the population vis-a-vis environmentally, how it is engaged in a destructive environmental activities. So Roy F. Allen also studies the ecology of subsistence behaviors, and he has come up with the term called ethnobiology classifications and social organization for it. Through Rappaport's ideas, he particularly asserted that the ritual restrictions of killings or slaughterings of pigs only on certain ceremonial occasions in some way tries to create a balance or a sustainable management of not just resources but also based model of human ecology, which has become a major new wave in the human ecology. And therefore we also goes on to looking at some of the notions of how nature is being construed and how it has been conceptualized as a scientific problem, or that matter how nature and culture has been a binary has been created owing to the Western scientific thinking. And because in many of the pre-literate or traditional or the indigenous community, nature and culture are often seen to be sharing a very symbiotic relationship and or a harmonious relationship. However, this nature from the Western scientific thinking, a new form of ideas have emerges by creating a binary between the two. So now these are more or less some of the points which we have possibly covered in the last few weeks. Now coming to some of the queries which we have received, I'll try to respond to some of that. Now let's first try to look into the weightage of how we go about with the exams for this particular course. Now the weekly assignments which you all have been regularly doing upon have weightage of 25%, and on the other hand the final exams will have 75%, and the nature of the questions will be a multiple choice question, and in which will be given some kind of option to choose from the given question. So therefore we could see that it is not going to be descriptive in nature but multiple choice question. Now how do we try to contextualize the whole notions of biodiversity in the ecological system? As we all know, what biodiversity is all about It is the different forms of life which is there in the one particular ecosystem, and whether it could be animals, whether it could be plants, or maybe the smallest, even the microorganisms, which made up in that particular geographical settings or ecosystems, which are all interrelated. So therefore, by saying so, when we talk about biodiversity, that no single entity could prosper or survive in their own. Rather, there is a whole notions of cyclical relations or interrelated about these biodiversity, in order for any entity or any species to thrive, for that matter. So therefore, when we talk about biodiversity in this ecological system, we try to capture the way in which how all these species are interrelated in forming livable conditions for everyone. Now, as I had already indicated in the opening or the introductory part of this course, where we often interchangeably use ecology and environment, but to a large extent, ecology and environment is not the same but different. So when we talk about ecology, it is about the relationship which is being shared with our immediate other species or living organisms in that specific geographical area. On the other hand, when we talk about environment, it is the context or the surrounding where we inhabit, for instance. So therefore, ecology talks more of the relationship with different species, including humans, plants, animals, and so on and so forth. Whereas the environment, in fact, is the surrounding or the context. So with this, I do hope that you will be going through all those lectures, and we actually don't need a separate readings as such for this particular course, because all the lecture slides, and then if you look, listen the lectures attentively, and I'm sure you'll be able to answer those weekly assignments at the same time the final exams. So I do hope to interact with you further in the coming weeks, and you please feel free to drop in any mail anytime, even to my personal email. So I'll be happy to respond to that. Thank you so much, and all the best.